everyone. My name is Clara Nobre. I am currently Senior Product Manager at TransferWise, working on the TransferWise for Business product. And before joining TransferWise and the world of fintech, I was working in Internet of Things in companies like Hive and Vodafone. I'm originally from Brazil. This is where the accent is from. And I'm currently based in London. And today I will be talking to you about tips and tricks to build products with impact. So products that impact your customers and your company. Throughout this talk today, I will be trying to answer 3 questions. One is to help you understand if the problem that you're solving, what is the problem that you're solving? 2, to help you assess if that problem is worth solving. And 3, are you solving that problem correctly? So starting from point number 1, what problem am I solving? Every project you pick up as a product manager should start with a very strong problem definition. What is it, the problem that you're solving? Most of you probably have heard of this quote of Henry Ford before. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And you are probably also familiar with this quote from Steve Jobs. A lot of times, people don't know what they want until you show it to them. Now, I've seen these 2 quotes being used a lot as an excuse to not do proper customer research. This is a massive mistake. If anything, this is a cautionary tale to do customer research the right way. So what is the right way to do customer research? You see, Henry Ford's customers would ask him for a faster horse. That is because people tend to ask for solutions. It is your job as a product manager to understand what is the problem that they are trying to solve. What is the need behind the faster horse? So things like a button that does X, feature Y, or a faster horse or a faster car, those are solutions. It's very natural that customers come to us and ask for solutions. After all, they see us as a solution provider. So it's normal that they try to come to us with a prepackaged way to solve that need. The problem space will be things like, I'm always running late for work, or I need to travel with my 3 kids. It is your job to try to understand what is that need that they're trying to solve with a faster horse or with a car. So how to make sure that you are focusing on the problem? There are a few probing questions that I like to use when I'm doing customer interviews, and I find them very helpful to try to get to the customer need. One of them is whenever someone comes to me and say, I want this feature, I ask, what do you need it for? Just to give some context for people who don't know TransferWise, we are a solution for moving money internationally. So I was talking to this customer the other day, and in the end of the interview, he told me he needed the ability to schedule transfers and to schedule payments in the product. And I was like, oh, cool. What do you need it for? And he was explaining it to me. So he was a business owner, and he needed to pay a lot of his employees abroad. But his bank, he was based in the UK, his bank wouldn't allow him to take that much money out of his account in a single day. So he would come to TransferWise, set up a payment to half of his customers, to half of his employees, come back again the next day, set up another payment to the other half of his employees. So this was a bit of a nuisance and an extra admin for him. So he said, I want the ability to schedule it. And when he explained the problem to me, I was like, okay, cool. Scheduled transfers would be a way to solve it. But right now, you could just take the money out of your bank and hold the money in TransferWise with us and just make the payments whenever we're ready to do so, because we won't limit this amount of money. We will allow all the payments to go through the same day. And he was like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. So if I had not probed him to understand what was the problem, I could have thought, okay, he wants scheduled transfers, let's just do that. And that would be a very imperfect way to solve his need. If I gave this customer scheduled transfers, it would be a patch for the experience rather than providing a proper solution and a proper way to fix it. Another thing I like to do is ask people to talk me through their whole journey. What is the whole journey for you to get your job done? So if they tell me, oh, I need a horse, and I ask them, what do you need it for? And they tell me, oh, I need a horse to go to work. I will want to understand what is their whole journey in getting to work. This is a great way to identify the full need that the customer have and see all the pain points that they have, which ones of those pain points your product solves, and which ones your product could potentially solve, and how is it solving in the most efficient and the best possible way. Usually your product will only solve part of a job. For example, the job of getting to work is not only the commute itself, so the horse or the car, they solve the problem of the commute. But the job might start much sooner when the person sets up their alarm clock, for example, when they're choosing which clothes to wear, when they stop for coffee on the way. So try to understand the whole job that the customer needs to go through. And finally, this is my favorite question to ask in any customer interview. I always make sure to leave 10, 15 minutes in the end of any interview to ask this question. Is there anything else you want to tell me? Usually customer interviews are quite guided because you have your own agenda of things that you want to discover and points that you want to validate and things you want to find out, which is okay. But by asking this very open-ended question in the end is a great way to get customers to open their hearts and tell you things that you might not ever thought of or were completely out of your radar. And I really like to do this to do a bit more of a exploratory research and really try to understand them a bit better. Another powerful tool you can use is observation. Observe customers trying to solve their need. Observe customers using your product. So look at how they do the action that they use your product to do. Where does your product fall short? What are the friction points? What does it solve well? And fair enough, in this particular example of getting to work, it might be a bit creepy to ask customers to watch this process, but quite often it's something that's possible to do. So for example, I didn't do that, but I would love to watch my customer perform that action of paying his employees. When does that process start? That process starts probably by logging into a payroll software and figuring out when is the right time to set the process to start that journey. So understanding the whole job will help you a lot in providing the perfect solution. And finally, data. That is always a powerful tool to spot where your product might fall short. You can look for things such as, is there any action that is taking too long to be completed? Or how is your conversion rate? Is there any step in the flow that seems problematic? Are there any cohorts with higher drop-off at a particular step of the flow? Why? Could your product not be working very well for them for some reason? And last thing on this, I recommend that you look into the jobs to be done framework. We don't have time to go deep into this today, but in short, it's a framework that force you to look in the problem space rather than jumping straight away to the solution space. And again, remember that your product probably just solves part of the customer job, and try to understand the whole job that they're trying to do. Moving on to point 2, how to know if this problem is worth solving. There are a couple of pitfalls you should watch out for. The first one is when a small group of people make a lot of noise. This tends to happen when something is a very big problem for a very niche customer segment. You will have to think and ask yourself, is this the most valuable thing you could be doing for your customers? Or could my team be working on something that is more beneficial, or it benefits a broader set of customers, for example. This is not a straight up answer, by the way. There might be a feature that unblocks something very important for a very small subset of customers, but that small subset of customers happen to be your most valuable customers, but it's a good thing to watch out for. Like, yes, these people are making a lot of noise, but let's try to understand the dimension of the problem. How many people is it impacting? Another pitfall is when you get a lot of requests for something that is a nice to have. It is a cherry on top. Now, it's great to have a cherry. Don't get me wrong. The cherry is the customer delight, right? And customer delight is important, but you need to be very clear that that is a cherry on top so that you can prioritize accordingly. You can make a conscious decision of the amount of time and effort your team will put into that. You got to remember that every time you decide to put your team into doing something, there is something else that they are not working on. So what is the opportunity cost? Is it worth it? And this has happened to me before. I was going through NPS comments for my product, and I saw a couple of features that people were requesting quite a lot. And I reached out to one of those. I decided to investigate a little bit more into one of those features. And I reached out to a few customers who had requested it to have a chat with them, have a conversation, try to understand what they needed and what was the need behind that feature request. And when I started talking to them, I started the interview saying, oh, so thank you for talking to me today. I wanted to talk to you because you asked me about, you asked us to deliver this feature, and I wanted to understand what do you need it for? And they would tell me, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be nice because it's a bit annoying to go around it and to do the other way, so it would make my life a little bit easier. Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, it's not a major issue. So immediately I realized that it was a nice to have. It was a cherry on top. There were tons of like bigger, massive blockers that my team could be addressing instead of working on this. Which takes us to ruthless prioritization. To avoid getting distracted by particularly loud customers or by nice to haves, you need to be ruthless when prioritizing. To help you prioritize which problems you should be tackling first, you need to assess what are the goals of my company? What are the goals of my team? And you need to have that very clear to avoid getting distracted and making sure you're working on the biggest opportunities. One of the main reasons I see PMs fail is this. They are working hard and they are building good products, but they are not allocating their time smartly. They are not choosing the most impactful problems to solve. So a very important lesson as a product manager is learn when to say no. So once you have your goal really clear, try to quantify how much each of the projects in your backlog will help you get you closer to your goal. So if your goal, let's say, is to reduce churn, what percentage of users are leaving because you don't offer feature X or because you don't offer feature Y? And if something doesn't bring you closer to your goal, like for example, our feature C in the example, kill it. Don't put your team into it. Say no. And finally, last question I will try to help you answer. Am I solving the problem correctly? Every time you set out to do something, you should have a very clear definition of what success looks like. What is the main KPI? What is the main metric your project is aiming to move? So you will know you have been successful when you move the metric you set out to move in the beginning. But there are a few tricks that can increase your chance of reaching success and moving that metric as you intended. The first one is to prototype. Remember our creepy PM from the earlier slides who likes to watch? Well, you can create a prototype and literally watch your customers, your potential customers, use it. face-to-face, and even ask questions as you go. Now, the important thing here is to try not to be leading. So most of the times when I did this in the past, because you're there, the customer might use you as a clutch. So it's quite common that they reach out to you and, oh, what does this button do? And I would always give the question back, what do you expect it to do? Because that's what you're doing, right? You're trying to create an intuitive product that doesn't require further explanations and that delivers the experience that your users expect it to deliver. And there are tools like user testing that can help you test prototypes asynchronously. So you send your prototype to a bunch of people, they record themselves using it, they talk out loud and comment while they're using it, and then you can watch it back. You lose the back and forth from a face-to-face test, but you can get results like this. So it's a very quick, efficient way to observe people using your prototype. And finally, have a smart release plan. There are a few steps you can take while releasing something new that will increase your chance of success. First one is to set up a beta tester group. You can select existing highly engaged customers that you have and ask them to be part of your beta group. A lot of times people really, especially when you have people who really enjoy your product, they will be very keen to participate, either because they love your product and they're keen to help, or because they really need that particular feature, so they want to have access to it as early as possible. Now, these customers know that they are in a beta group, so they don't expect the product to be perfect. And this is great because you get to release something to real customers as early as possible, even before the product is perfect, and is a great opportunity. Beta groups are great for finding bugs and finding edge cases and getting more qualitative feedback on the solution, on the design, on the implementation. You can spend a lot of QA time trying to test all possible use cases, but you will get there a lot faster when you have a set of beta users. They will be doing things with the product that you might not even have thought of. Then once you have ironed out the main bugs in the beta stage, you can choose to release to a subset of users first. That way, you can start to get some quantitative feedback. So the beta stage is great for qualitative feedback, usually in touch with those people. Whenever I do, I've done beta testing before, in which they would have my email and they reach out to me when something was wrong. So great for qual. And this stage is great for quantitative feedback. It's great for trying to find any nasty side effects. So let's say you release some to increase conversion of in one step of the flow. And by doing that, you ended up decreasing conversion on another step of the flow. Or you release something to increase adoption of a certain feature, but by doing that, you made another feature less discoverable and you caused harm here. So this is a great step to see if you're breaking anything somewhere else in the product. And at this stage, you should be seeing that KPI starting to move as well. Just one important thing here, be mindful to how big this subset is, because you want it to be small enough so that if you're breaking anything, it doesn't cause too much harm. But you want it to be big enough so you can learn in a timely manner. So you don't want to stay here forever. So how big needs to be your first subset of users for you to get those learnings in a reasonable timing, to then move on to the next phase, which is rolling it out to everyone. So once you've released your subset of users, you ironed out the last kinks, saw if you broke anything else, everything is good to go, open the doors, release it to everyone, and just watch that metric move. So thank you everyone for watching today. And if you have any questions, do reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you very much.